A few years back, Asrock entered the GPU market with their aftermarket designs for the Polaris cards. And here we are in 2021 with one of their RX 5600 XT and the first one in the studio. Meet the Asrock RX 5600 XT Challanger Pro. To start things up, I was able to snag one of these bad boys back in the holiday sale for just around 14,000 Philippine peso or roughly around $280 US, and that is post-tax. Not the best deal out there if you're gonna compare it with the cheapest price that you can find in Newegg, but here locally in the Philippines, this was already a very good deal, as normally an RX 5600 XT ranges from 16,000 to 18,000 Philippine peso, and that is depending on the model. Going back, the 5600 XT is part of the first 7nm Navi cards with support for PCIe Gen 4. This GPU has 36 compute units and 2304 stream processors with a typical board power of 150 watts, while PSU recommendation is at 550 watts. The Challanger Pro has a max boost clock of 1750 MHz and a memory clock of 14 gigabits per second on a 192-bit bus with a total of 6 gigs of GDDR6 memory. Onto the cooler design, the Asrock Challanger Pro is the updated version of their original Challanger D model, wherein the older one only features 2 fans, while the Challanger Pro has a triple fan setup. Dimension of this card is as follows: 280mm for its length, 180mm in height, and 52.5mm thick. I'm not too sure if this can be considered as a 2-slot card design, as the cooler itself extends past the 2-slot bracket. Again, like I said a while ago, this model features 3 80mm fans to cool the GPU. The heatsink extends way past the PCB itself, and we can see 3 heat pipes over at the end of the heatsink. The fans also has the 0 RPM feature to keep the card inaudible when not loaded. When it comes to connections, this card is powered by a single 8-pin PCIe power connector, while back I/O consists of 3 DisplayPort 1.4 and a single HDMI 2.0B, which should support 1440p at 144Hz. For its looks, the all-black shroud for the Challanger Pro is a nice upgrade over their older Challanger cards, where it features the somewhat tacky yellow accents. This design also reminds me of Gigabyte's recent triple fan designs, with this being more gamery in my opinion. Lighting is also absent on this card, so for those RGB lovers, you might want to check their Phantom Gaming model instead. This should go well perfectly to blackout builds and those who refuse to include lighting on their setup. A metallic backplate is also included for added rigidity, but how I wish that Asrock extended the backplate way beyond the PCB for a better looking design when not vertically mounted. As for today's testing, I will include 15 games in 1440p medium to high settings to see whether we can reach a 60 average FPS on those tested games. Results again will include both with SAM functionality on and off on my Ryzen 7 5800X and on my Asus TUF B550M Plus motherboard. 16 gigs of Corsair Vengeance RAMs rated at 3600 MHz are also used in this testing. Overclocked results are not included due to recent life events. And with that out of the way, let us check some of these gaming benchmarks. And with the results out, we can see that the RX 5600 XT struggles a little bit in some of the newer AAA titles such as Control, Red Dead Redemption 2, and Cyberpunk 2077. Toning down some of its graphical setting might help to achieve an average 60 FPS on those affected games. But for most of the other games, we are seeing a nice balance of between 80 to 144 average FPS on high settings, which is perfect if paired with AMD's Freezing Premium for a buttery smooth gaming. And based from our results here, we can safely say that 1080p gaming is not a problem for the RX 5600 XT. As for SAM functionality, surprisingly that 5000 Navi cards are also supported, but then again, gains are a bit negligible in average, and like I said in my 6900 XT review, compare your desired game with SAM on and off first before settling down on your final setting. Next, let us talk about temps and power consumption. Peak temps are surprisingly amazing on my open test bench, as I am only peaking 59 degrees Celsius core temp and 72 degrees Celsius hotspot on my ambient 28 Celsius room temp. At 75% normalized speed, my card is only reaching a 51 degrees Celsius peak core temperature, while hotspot is just around 64 degrees Celsius. This just means that the Asrock Challanger Pro is capable enough to cool our RX 5600 XT. Power consumption of the card just averages at 140 watts according to the Radeon overlay, while system pull is at 90 watts on idle and 280 watts when gaming. So we can safely assume now that even a 400 watt PSU is more than enough to run a system with an RX 5600 XT on it. And assumingly you can get one at a similar price point, then the RX 5600 XT is one of the best GPUs out there in the sub 15K market, and the cooler itself from Asrock performs exceptionally well, with the only complaint of the fans sounding a bit too loud on higher RPM. And the question now, should you buy an RX 5600 XT in early 2021? Personally, as long as you can get one under 15,000 Philippine peso, then this GPU is a good card for your next 1080p or even 1440p gaming setup. So I think that is all for today's video. What are some of your good deals this last holiday? Share it down below, and if you like this video, go hit that like button and also do subscribe to my channel for more video card reviews like this one. Once again, this is Brain of Junkyard Summit. Thank you, stay safe, and see you in the next one.